الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما صليت على ال ابراهيم وبارك على محمد وعلى ال محمد كما باركت على ال ابراهيم في العالمين انك حميد مجيد. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. وكذلك ابن حزم said وكذلك كان يلزم أبا حنيفة وأصحابه المخالفين الخبر الصحيح في المصرع وفي حج المرأة عن الهرم الحي وفي سائر ما تركوا فيه السنن الثابتة للقياس أن يرفضوا هذا الخبر الفاسد. ابن حزم أبو حنيفة has in his usuli matters يعني foundation rule that if the hadith, even this hadith is sahih, is sound, but this hadith is sound hadith differ the qiyas. What he means the qiyas here it has another meaning, not analogy, according to regarding Abu Hanifa. Qiyas, it has another terminology meaning here, which means basic rule. Basic rule. What they mean by basic rule, okay? They said when we look in Sharia, okay, we can see that a lot of matters, okay, it is going on the same rate or on the same rule or on the same principle. So if we find any hadith differ this main rule, okay, which is taken from many branches of Sharia, which is going on according to this basic rule, so we can say in this case this hadith is rejected. Why? Because this hadith it differs the main rule or the basic rule. He gives an example here about this foundation rule of Ahnaf. Al-Musarra, it means people before when he wants to sell their camels or their sheep, and so they used to cheat. Why cheating? They tie like a small rope around its the nipples of its ladder. Okay, so when he tied this rope around the nipple of the ladder of the cattle, of the cow or of the sheep, so the milk inside its ladder يعني accumulate on its ladder, and it shows that this cow or this sheep gives a lot of milk. Okay, and when he go to the market to sell this cow and to sell this sheep, it appears that it has a big ladder, so it gives a lot of milk. So they used to cheat the people uh, like this way. So this is we call this sheep or this cow. Okay, we call it musarra. Musarra, musarra, yusarri, tasriya means he did this action in its ladder. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said about al-musarra, okay, said the man has a choice if he milk this musarra cow, for example, and he found out that the one cheated him, so he has to after he milked it, he can he can give it back to the seller and give him sa'an min tam. Sa'an min tam. Sa'an min tam, like uh, amount of tamr, of dates, like for example, one and a half kilogram of dates. So in this hadith is muttafaq alayh. This hadith is muttafaq alayh. يعني it is agreed upon, al-Bukhari and Muslim were agreed upon this hadith, or agreed upon this hadith. So Al-Ahnaf said, no, this hadith, it differs in the basic rule. And when they asked them, what is this basic rules in Islam, they said, the one who bought this cow, why Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said had he has to give 1.5 kilogram of dates يعني uh, instead of giving milk, because they said he milked this cow and he took the milk of this cow, so he has to give milk instead of milk, not give dates instead in exchange of milk. Why? Because they said in the basic rule of Sharia, if someone ruin anything or corrupt anything, he has to give the same thing back, the same thing or anything which is like it, okay, back to the one whose thing is corrupted or is ruined. So, if for example, if you break pencil for someone, so you have to give him a pencil, not to give him مثلا, a ruler or something like this. Okay. So they said this man milked the cow and took milk, so he has to give a milk. So because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said he has to give a dates instead. Okay. So they said this hadith uh, يعني differing a basic rule of Sharia, that the things which is corrupted or which is ruined should be given should, things similar of it should be given in this case. So they rejected this hadith. Okay. And another thing, وفي حج المرأة في الجزز المسرة وفي حج المرأة عن الهارم الحي. This hadith as well is Sahih al-Bukhari, that a woman came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. قالت أدركت أبي شيخا كبيرا لا يثبت على الراحلة. يعني I found my father was this aged, very old man. Okay. لا يثبت على راحلة. He cannot be stable on the camel because he's very old. He cannot control himself when he is riding the camel. أفأحج عنه؟ قال نعم. He, the woman asked Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, can and I do Hajj on behalf of my father? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said yes. Okay? Al-Ahnaf said here in this case, because this man was alive and we have a principle, this is the reason I think they reject this hadith, because they said no one who is alive, no one can do anything on Sharia, on Ibadat, or no shipping, no one can do anything, any good deed or any worshipping matter on behalf of any alive one. Okay. on behalf of any alive يعني. And so you cannot do salah for your father if your father is alive. You cannot do مثلا صوم if your father is alive and he can fast himself. Okay, so they said now this hadith as well reject deferred the main rule of that no one can do any kind of worship on behalf on alive one. But if this man is dead, so this is another issue. Okay, this is another issue because majority of the scholars said you can do some things for him. You can do sadaqah for him. Charity give uh, charity on behalf of him. Yani you can give do hajj for him. Can do sawm, okay, for him. And salah and this Quran is there is a difference between the scholars about this issue. Okay, so Ibn Hazm here said you left. He is talking to Al Ahnaf. You left the narration of Al Musarra, okay, and said it differs the principal rules, the basic rule of Sharia وفي حج المرأة عن الهرم الحي and to when the woman do Hajj on behalf of Harim يعني the aged one the old alive one okay وفي سائر ما تركوا فيه السنن الثابتة للقياس and in the all what they leave from the sound narration for qiyas. For qiyas here means they mean the basic rule. Not qiyas means analogy here in this context. Okay. الخبر الفاسد. So they have to reject this corrupted narration. قياسا by doing analogy على ما أجمع عليه what there is on the what there is a consensus about it من أن الضحك لا ينقض الوضوء في غير الصلاة that laughing out loud does not break the wudu في غير الصلاة in out of salah. So Ibn Hazm said to them here you depended upon a narration which is mursal narration that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam commanded the Sahaba who laughed out loud inside the salah to do wudu again. And you said that wudu breaks that qaqaha, that laughing out loud inside the salah, it breaks the wudu. As we said, if you look at this hadith, so you will find out that it differs a basic rules of Sharia. What is this basic rules of Sharia? He said the basic rule that there is a consensus between the scholars uh, that the one who laughed out loud but outside the salah, his wudu will not be broken in this case. So he said to Ahnaf, now you contradicted himself because you should, according to your foundation rules, that you should leave this hadith because it differs the basic rule of Sharia that laughing out loud does not break the wudu. فكذلك لا يجب أن ينقضه في الصلاة so that it should not break it in salah. ولكنهم لا يضطردون القياس ولا يتبعون السنن. But actually they did not continue in their qiyas, in their analogy. ولا يتبعون السنن and they did not follow the sunan, the tradition. ولا يلتزمون ما أحلوا من قبول المرسل والمتواتر إلا ريثما يأتي موافقا لآرائهم, and they did not be obliged to ما أحلوا what they permitted from accepting the mursal, hadith al-mursal, wal-mutawatir, and hadith al-mutawatir. Al-mursal, we said, it is one of the narrator is not exist. According to the usuli or the foundation scholars, this is the definition of mursal. Wal-mutawatir means the mass transmitting hadith, the hadith which is transmitted by a large group of people to a large group of people until it reaches to us. إلا ريثما, except when يأتي موافقا لآرائهم, when it comes agreed with their opinion أو تقليدهم or their imitation. ثم هم أول رافضون له إذا خالف تقليدهم وآرائهم. Then they, the first people who reject it, reject means mursal or mutawatir, إذا خالف تقليدهم, if it differs their imitation and their وآرائهم on their opinion. وحسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل, and Allah is sufficient to us, and He is the best one we depend upon. ويقال لهم في أي قرآن أو في أي سنة أو في أي قياس وجدتم تغليظ بعض الأحداث فينقض الوضوء قليلها وكثيرها, تخفيف بعضها قد ينقض الوضوء إلا مقدارا حددتموه منها. And we say to them, in any Quran or in any Sunnah, or in which Quran or in which Sunnah or in which Qiyas do you find that some of the wudu breakers is heavy, so it breaks the wudu, the little of it or more of it, and some of the wudu breakers are light. قد ينقض wudu, so it can mix wudu, but a specific amount of it you you uh, you حددتموه, you determined it from it. He said, why he said that? Okay, because the al-Ahnaf has some classification of hadath. Al-hadath, we said, mean the things which breaks the wudu. Okay, so they said some hadath is heavy. Okay, so this hadath, heavy hadath, they said ghalid يعني heavy or thick. Okay, so this hadath, it can break the wudu. Even this hadath is more or less. Okay, for example, like passing wind. Okay, if they passing wind, it breaks the wudu. Defecation breaks the wudu. This is from ahdath mughallaba, heavy hadath. And there are some other ahdath, okay, which is light. Okay, so what is this hadath? Things which breaks wudu, which is light. They said like vomiting and the influx. So they said if you vomit, it does not break the wudu except it this vomit can fill your mouth. If you just vomit a little bit of food, okay, so it does not break the wudu. As well as the influx, they said the influx, if it is got out from your stomach, but a little bit, which does not make full, does not fill your mouth, okay, so it does not break the wudu. So in this case, it is حدث مخفف, يعني light حدث. It does not break the wudu. So Ibn Hazm said this classification of ahdath is not exist in Sharia in any kind of hadath. So hadath is hadath. Okay? Every hadath, everything which breaks the wudu, it breaks the wudu, even it is more or less. Okay? والنص فيها كلها جاء مجيئا واحدا, and the text which came about all of these أحداث came on the same coming. يعني always رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, فقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا تقبل صلاة من أحدث حتى يتوضأ. The salah of anyone who breaks his wudu will not be accepted until he do wudu. So Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم said man أحدث, man أحدث, so whoever do hadath. And Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وسلم didn't say this classification between the ahdath. ولا يخفى على ذي عقل أن بعض الحدث حدث, and it is not hidden for anyone who has an intellect that the sum of the hadath is, it is considered as hadath, because it is sum of it. فإذ هو كذلك, so because it is like that, like that, فقليله وكثيره ينقض الطهارة. So more of it or less of it, it breaks the tahara, the purification. وما لم يكن حدثا, and what is not considered as حدث, فكثيره وقليله لا ينقض الطهارة. So more of it or little of it لا ينقض الطهارة, does not break the tahara. أيوة بقى. وبالله تعالى التوفيق, and by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is our guidance.